Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving into a genuinely fascinating source document today by Kang Shinshul, and it explores how we actually build true expertise. The secret? Mental frameworks. We're going to explore how building a library of these frameworks acts as the ultimate cognitive shortcut. It's a method that allows you to master any field, solve ridiculously complex problems, and honestly, just stop feeling so completely overwhelmed by information overload. Think about how you actually learn nowadays. You read books, you sit through meetings, maybe you listen to explainers like this one, and you absorb a bunch of facts. But here is the absolutely critical question this source poses. How do we prevent our knowledge from becoming scattered islands? This is a massive pain point in modern learning. We memorize scattered pieces of information, but we totally miss how they actually connect to one another. And when our knowledge is just floating around like isolated little islands, it's incredibly hard to recall it, let alone apply it to new, complex situations. Well, the fix is to move away from those scattered islands and build what the author calls an organized honeycomb. Imagine your mind as a meticulously crafted honeycomb. When you encounter a brand new piece of knowledge, it doesn't just float away into the abyss. Instead, it easily slots right into a specific, structured space in your mind. A framework acts exactly like that wax structure, holding the honey, which is your knowledge, securely in place. It's like a giant puzzle where everything just clicks. So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the power of frameworks, then dive into the 100 Framework Challenge. After that, we'll learn two foundational models right off the bat, systems theory and modeling theory. Finally, we'll wrap up with how to build your expertise. Consider this the ultimate blueprint for your new mental architecture. Let's start with part one, the power of frameworks and how they actually go about structuring the mind. According to the text, a framework is not just some simple, basic tool. It is literally a structural frame for viewing objects and a logical skeleton for understanding and solving problems. You probably already know a few of these. In business, think about the SWOT analysis, the BCG matrix, or Michael Porter's 5 forces. In education, there's Bloom's taxonomy. In creative fields, you've got design thinking. These aren't just academic theories, they are proven problem-solving patterns. By learning them, you're essentially downloading a highly structured way of thinking directly into your brain. Moving right along to part two, the 100 Framework Challenge. This is all about how we build this into a lifelong practice. The author makes a pretty bold guarantee here. He says that if you systematically learn and document 100 frameworks, you will be recognized as an expert in any field. No question about it. And he provides a highly actionable step-by-step method to pull this off, called the 2-page documentation method. It's exactly what it sounds like. For every new framework you learn, you dedicate 2 pages to it. The front page captures the hard facts, the number, the name, the creator, the origin, and the procedure. But the back page, that is for your active structuring. That's where you put your personal memos, your ideas on how to apply it, real-world applications, and the exact dates you used it. It eventually becomes your highly personal, uniquely structured playbook of expertise. But here's the really fascinating part, what the source calls the magic threshold. You actually don't even have to reach 100 before you start seeing results. The text notes that when you hit just 20 to 30 documented frameworks, a major cognitive shift happens. You will start seeing overlapping structural patterns everywhere. The frameworks just naturally begin to connect with one another on their own. Your analytical abilities will noticeably expand, and you'll find yourself able to solve problems so much faster because you effortlessly recognize the hidden structures beneath them. It's a real game changer. Okay, part 3, let's actually get you started on your challenge right now with framework number 1, systems theory, which is really the art of seeing the whole picture. The very first framework on our journey today is general systems theory, created by the biologist L. von Bertalanffy. The core idea here is formulating universal system principles across all disciplines. Whether you are looking at nature or society or even artificial creations, you can model reality as a system. It's a way of looking at the world not as a bunch of isolated parts, but as interconnected elements, boundaries and feedback loops, where the whole is always much greater than the sum of its parts. So let's run through the core principles of systems theory really quick. First, we have the open system, meaning it constantly exchanges energy or information with its environment. Then there's holism, or emergence, where entirely new properties arise when parts combine. We also have equal finality, which is a fantastic word to drop at your next trivia night, by the way. And that means different initial paths can lead to the exact same result. We also have hierarchy, which operates a lot like Russian nesting dolls of systems. Then there are feedback loops, which either stabilize or amplify a situation. And finally,
entropy, which is the reality that maintaining order in any system requires you to constantly input energy and structure.
Right, so the crucial point is, how do we actually apply this? Well, the source gives us a really practical blueprint. Step 1, clearly define your problem, your goals, and your key performance indicators. Step 2, set your boundaries. You have to decide what is inside your system and what stays outside in the environment. Step 3, extract the key elements, the variables, and actively map out their relationships and any delays. Step 4, structure the feedback loops to sketch out the dynamics. By running through these 4 steps, a totally chaotic problem suddenly becomes a crystal clear, manageable system.
Awesome. So with systems theory under your belt, let's jump into part 4 and add a second tool to your library, general modeling theory, which is all about constructing reality. General modeling theory is authored by Kang Shin-chul himself, and it's based on the idea that humans basically live by constructing and updating models of the world. To translate reality into an actionable, useful model, you need 5 pillars. First, the subject, who is the designer with a specific intention. The object, which is the physical target or phenomenon itself. The media, meaning the expression tool being used. The model, which is the final artificial output. And lastly, the customer, the actual person who's going to use this model. Let's really unpack how this flow happens in the human mind, because it's absolutely brilliant. Imagine starting with a physical object. This could be nature, everyday items, or abstract phenomena. Now follow that flow over to the subject. That is you. Your very specific intentions, your background, and your culture completely shape how you perceive that object. You go through these stages of internal processing, right? Sensing, intellect, and emotion. And eventually, those form a mental image or a concept in your head. But an internal image just isn't enough. To share it with the world, you have to push it through some kind of media. This could be physical materials, written text, mathematics, or even computer programming. And that finally outputs the artificial model. This entire flow, from a physical object, filtered through a human subject's intent, translated via media into a final model, that is the fundamental process of how we construct our entire understanding of reality. Okay, so you've created a model. How do you know if it's actually any good? Well, the framework gives us a rapid-fire checklist called the 6E evaluation criteria. You can evaluate literally any model by asking these questions. Is it exact? Can you explain it easily? Is it effective at actually solving the problem and efficient in its economics? Can it be extended to other areas? And finally, and this is always a good question before unleashing a model on the world, is it ethical? Definitely keep the 6 E's in your back pocket whenever you are designing any kind of solution. The theory playfully abbreviates this entire journey from start to finish as the Isudiata process. Say that 3 times fast. Basically, it's a rigorous path that takes a raw, vague intention and sensing in your head, pushes it through understanding and design into mental image making, and finally forces it out into concrete expression and testing in the real world. We have covered a ton of ground today. Let's bring it all together in part 5, building your expertise and the path forward. You now have systems theory and modeling theory as the very first 2 bricks in your new cognitive architecture. But I want to leave you with this core philosophy from the text. Learning is not simply memorizing information, but a process of structuring it and grasping relationships. That absolutely hits the nail on the head. True mastery requires active structuring, not just passive consumption. When you grasp the frameworks, you grasp the relationships. You stop collecting those isolated islands of data and you finally start building that highly organized honeycomb of wisdom. So you officially have 2 powerful frameworks written down in your mental library. The 100 Frameworks Challenge has officially begun for you. So my challenge to you today is this. When you read your next book or attend your next meeting or watch your next explainer, look past the surface level facts. Try to find the hidden structural skeleton beneath all that information. What is going to be your 3rd framework? Keep hunting for those patterns, and thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.